Hello students, I'm Sonali Kelkar from City International School and today we are going to do a topic complex permanent tissue, right? Before we start the topic, I just want to take a quick recap of what we did in our last session. This is a flow chart of plant tissues that we are going to study. Now, before I start with tissue, what do you mean by tissue? What is the definition of tissue? Tissue is nothing but a group of cells that are specialized to perform a particular function and forms a tissue. Now there are mainly two types of tissue, plant tissues and animal tissues, right? Now let's see first about the plant tissue. Under the plant tissue, we studied about the meristematic tissue. Now what do you mean by meristematic tissue? Yes, student? Yeah, they are the tissues which keep divides. Okay, they divide continuously without tiring they divide. And then comes permanent tissue, right? Under the meristematic tissue, we studied about apical tissue, lateral and intercalary, right? And then in permanent tissue, we studied about the simple, that is the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma, as well as the protective tissues, right? And then today we are going to do complex tissue. Under that we are going to study about phloem and xylem. Clear, students? Right. So let's have a quick little recap of meristematic tissue. Okay. Now, apical meristematic tissue, it is present at the growing tips of stems and roots. Okay. These are here roots and over here at the top apical, that is at the top, right? So they are responsible for the growth of plant. They helps in increasing the length of the plant, right? So this is known as primary growth. Increasing in the length of the plant is known as primary growth, right? Then comes lateral meristem. We will do the lateral meristem first, right? Lateral meristem responsible for the secondary growth. That means it is responsible for the growth in the girth of plant, diameter. Here you can see diameter of plant, right? Then comes intercalary meristem. They are present on the leaf base and nodes. Here you can see the leaf base over here. This is responsible for the growth of new leaves, new branches and nodes. You can see nodes over here, right? So they are present in the intercalary, uh, they are present between the internodes, right? Or at nodes. Now let's have a recap which shows a basic difference between the parenchyma, collenchyma and sclerenchyma. These are the simple permanent tissue, right? Parenchyma, these are living cells. Collenchyma, living cells. Sclerenchyma, dead cells, right? Then parenchyma, what is the speciality in the structure of parenchyma? These cells are oval, they are spherical or polygon in shape, right? And then in collenchyma, we have seen that they are elongated, they are thickened at the corner, and they have very little intercellular space. In sclerenchyma are long and narrow cells. Sclerenchyma, they are long, these tissues are made up of long and narrow cells, right? And we have studied that there is a deposition of lignin, or we can say that they are lignified cells. There is a deposition of lignin. Due to the deposition of lignin, the walls are really thick, and it is so thick that there won't be any transportation of water or exchange of gases takes place. So they are dead cells, right? So there is no intercellular space and they are dead. Whereas in collenchyma there are little intercellular space, and in parenchyma we studied that there are lot of amount of intercellular space. Parenchyma, collenchyma are living, sclerenchyma is dead. Clear? And the basic function of parenchyma, storage of food. Okay, food and nutrition. Basic, the primary function of collenchyma is giving a mechanical strength. In fact, it gives the flexibility to the parts of plants. Okay, sclerenchyma, they are found mostly in the parts of the plant which are really tough and strong. That is nuts, the covering of nuts, right? And even in fibers, okay, coconut fibers, I have told about you, coconut husk of coconut, you can say specifically, right? So let's go ahead. Now then, the last uh, simple permanent tissue we did was protective tissue, right? Under the protective we did two tissues, that is epidermis and cork. Epidermis, because the words shows that they are present on the outermost part of all part of the plants, right? Epidermis tissue, and they are present on the outermost layer of the plant, such as leaves, flowers and stems. Epidermis tissues are somewhat made up of thick cells, thick layer of cells. In which type of plants? Yes, yes, in desert plants. Why? Because to slow down the process of transpiration, or it is to slow down, yes, it is to slow down the process of transpiration, so that water is not lost from plant. Okay, then it makes a thick cuticle layer, so which makes a leaf waxy, which is waterproof. Even it cannot be infected by any fungi or bacteria. Okay, and sometimes it is modified in leaves, it is modified as stomata. And which all the cells guard stomata? What do we call that cells? Guard cells, right? So these are all uh, the epidermis cell. What about the cork? Have you seen the cork in the old trees, on the stems of old trees? Okay, that is also responsible for giving the protection to plants and also the mechanical strength, right? Intercellular space are they are dead cells, and intercellular space are not present. Okay, this is all about what we did in permanent, simple permanent tissues, right? Coming to the complex permanent tissue. Complex permanent tissue, as the name suggests, it is made up of cells which are of different shape and size, right? Though their appearance is different, students, but their function or their motive is same, right? They look different. The group of cells performing common tasks. This is what a common task they are performing. Let's take in case of xylem, the common task is transportation of water and mineral from roots to the other parts of the cell, right? So this is all about complex permanent tissue. And what about the phloem? Phloem is also another type of complex permanent tissue which is responsible to take food from the part where it is manufactured, where food is manufactured, where food is produced, synthesized. Okay, student, where it's in the green parts of plants, so that is green leaves of plants, right? Food is manufactured in green leaves of plants by the process of photosynthesis, right? And then this food is transported to the upper parts of the plant, because the upper parts of the plant, they don't have those many leaves. Okay, so upper parts of the plant as well as down the plant, so there is a transportation in two direction, up and the down direction in plants, right? So we are going to study in detail about the complex permanent tissue. And what is the name given to xylem and phloem together? The xylem and phloem are known as vascular bundle. And what is the main function? Main function is conduction, right? Xylem conduct water and mineral, phloem conduct foods, right? So this is all a comparative study of xylem and phloem. We are going to deal it again with this topic in detail. Right, coming to xylem. Xylem is a tissue. As we know, it is a complex tissue. So complex tissue is formed of different type of cells. They are not made up of a single type of cell, a single cell which has similar type of shape, right? Here it is made up of different type of cells, right? Now what are the different type of cells xylem is made up of? Number one, tracheids, right? You can see in this picture tracheids, then vessels. Over here, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem sclerenchyma. Xylem sclerenchyma, sometimes it is also known as xylem fiber. Okay, now let's uh, go in detail one by one. Let's take these cells, right? Tracheids. As you can see, tracheids are long, elongated cells. They have tapering ends. The ends are tapering, okay? And you can see there are pits all along these, all along the tracheids. There are pits, okay? And what is the main function of tracheid? This is to transport water. The transport water through pits, right? Tracheids. Student, one more thing I want to tell you here. Xylem, these tissue, complex tissue, it is made up of dead cells. Xylem tissues, they are made up of dead cells, right? So tracheids, vessels, they are dead cells, right? So through pits, water flows. It just work like a plumbing system at your home. Okay, you have different pipes going through the kitchen, washroom, okay, the gallery. Okay, there all these pipeline goes and the water flows through these pipelines. Similarly, in plants, you will see tracheids and water and minerals are flowing through the tracheids, and this water and mineral is moving at one particular direction, that is from roots to the different parts of the plant, so from down to upward direction. So we also say that the flow of water is unidirectional. Okay, now coming to vessels, it is a long pipe-like structure. They are long pipe-like structure, again made up of dead cells, right? You can see there is a perforation over here, but these vessels, they are arranged one over the other and they form a long tube-like structure. Okay, and definitely responsible for the transfer of water and minerals, but basically in angiosperm or in tall trees, right? And if you see the pits, number of pits in vessels are more as compared to the number of pits in tracheids, right? So tracheids are usually found in short heighted plants, whereas vessels are found in huge plants, tall plants, right? Okay, so the vessels are more advanced in nature. Fine. Then coming to the parenchyma, as I told you before, parenchyma, as soon as you hear this word parenchyma, you read this word parenchyma, it is responsible for the storage of food and nutrition, right? And sclerenchyma, of course, it is made up of dead cells. They provide mechanical supports to plant. Okay, sclerenchyma provides mechanical supports to the plant. This is sclerenchyma xylem. Okay, now coming to the phloem. Phloem is the tissue that transport food from site of photosynthesis to the different parts of plant. We have discussed this before. Now it is again composed of, in fact it is composed of 4 types of cells, but in your book they have given 5 types of cells because sieve cells and sieve tubes are given in your book. Sieve cells and sieve tubes, there is hardly any difference between sieve cells and sieve tubes. Sieve cells are less specialized and sieve tubes are more specialized, right? So sieve tubes you will find in more developed type of plants, gymnosperm and angiosperms, right? So there is no problem. In fact, if you don't write sieve cells and if you write sieve tubes, it's perfectly all right. So basically four types of cells: sieve cells, companion cells, phloem parenchyma, phloem fiber. Phloem fiber is also known as, sometimes it is also known as phloem sclerenchyma, and it is also known as blast. Clear? Blast fibers. So all these types of cells are living cells. Okay, so what about the xylem? Xylem was made up of dead cells. Phloem is made up of living cells. So all these cells are living cells, right? Now let's come to the different type of cells. The first one is sieve cells. They are elongated. Have you seen this sieve? This is a sieve cell. They are elongated, right? And water flows, or food, okay, food get mixed with water and then it flows through these sieve cells, right? And sieve cells, they are long, elongated, and they don't have any nucleus. They have very less cytoplasm but no nucleus, and even other organelles are not present, right? These cells are responsible for the transportation of food and nutrients. Sieve cells are responsible for the transportation of food and nucleus. We have done this. The cell which is a companion cell. Here you can see the companion cell has nucleus, and companion cell even has different cell organelles, which is in fact helping the sieve cells to do many of its functions, right? So all metabolic functions takes place in companion cells, which helps the sieve cells. In fact, it is supporting the sieve cell. It is like a body of a sieve cells. Okay, companion cells and sieve cells to get throughout the lifespan, they are together. Okay, so companion, that is why the name is given companion, right? So most of the functions of the cell, typical type of cell functions, is done in companion cells, and the major function of sieve cell is the transportation or translocation, in fact translocation of food. Fine. Companion cells we have done have cytoplasm, they have nucleus and the other organelles. They perform the tasks required for sieve cells for living. So all living, that is metabolic functions. Tasks required for living is metabolic metabolism, different type of metabolic functions, right? So that is performed by companion cell. Then phloem parenchyma store food, as we know that wherever the parenchyma word comes, so that is always be related to storage of food, right? Then phloem fibers, they are thick cell walls. They have thick cell walls. They provide mechanical supports to plant. As I told you, phloem fibers, the other name of phloem fibers is phloem sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma means they are dead and they are responsible for the mechanical support of plants. Here, let's do the comparative study of the meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. The difference between the permanent tissue and peristematic tissue. These differences are very important. That is why I have made one particular site for the differences between permanent tissue, meristematic tissue, and further we will see the difference between xylem and phloem, right? So as we know that meristematic tissue keep dividing or divide repeatedly, right? Permanent tissue, when the meristematic tissue stop dividing, then they take up a particular shape and structure, right? For doing a particular function, right? So the permanent tissues, they are derived, the cells of permanent tissue derived from the meristematic tissues and do not divide. Okay, once they become a permanent tissue, they stop dividing and they start doing a particular function, okay, according to the shape what they have taken. Okay, now the cells are undifferentiated. All cells are similar in shape and size. They all are similar. They are doing only one type of function, that is division. And which type of division, students? We have done two type of division, mitosis division and meiosis division. So over here you will find mitosis division, right? Here, permanent tissue cells are fully differentiated. Differentiated means they take a different type of shape according to the function what they have to perform. Okay. Okay. Here the cells are small. Okay. Isodiametric, their cells are small, and here the cells have a different shape and size, variable in size and shape, as we have seen in different type of permanent, simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Okay. Then intercellular spaces are generally absent where they are closely packed. Okay. Then here we can see the intercellular space in case of permanent tissue. Vacuoles are absent. Meristematic tissue vacuoles are absent. There is no need of vacuoles, right? So you will find a big, huge nucleus here. Nucleus is quite big, but vacuoles are absent. Whereas in permanent tissues, large vacuoles are present in mature cells. Almost 90 to 95% of cell volume is occupied by large vacuoles, right? Because vacuoles, what is the function of vacuole? It is for the storage of food, for the storage of waste material, and then it provides turgidity, right, to plants. And because the plants okay, have to stand at their place, okay, throughout the life, they don't move, so they have to face all the environmental climatical changes, so they need to have a very strong mechanical system. Metabolism occurs in high rate. Here the metabolism occurs at high rate. Here the metabolism occurs at lower rate. Metabolism occurs at high rate here, and metabolism occurs at lower rate. Why do they have high metabolism rate? Because they need, their new cells are they're forming new cells, right? So that new cells require food, they need energy, so a lot of metabolic activity is taking place. Okay, new cells are forming, so that is why metabolic activities is more over here. Here, as compared to the meristematic tissue, metabolism is at low rate. Then here the cell walls are thin. Meristematic tissues, they have thin cell wall. In permanent tissues, that cell walls may be thin or may be thick, right? Thick in case of sclerenchyma, right? And thin in case of parenchyma, right? Now let's see the difference between xylem and phloem. Difference between xylem and phloem. Xylem, as we have studied, what are the different cells present in xylem? Because they are complex tissues, so definitely they are made up of different type of cells. Tracheids, vessels, xylem fibers, and xylem fibers which are dead tissues. Okay, xylem phloem, xylem parenchyma is also there. That also you can mention. Here, phloem fibers are dead tissues. Okay, here xylem fibers are dead tissues, whereas here phloem fibers are dead tissues. Xylem gives mechanical strength to plant, and phloem does not give mechanical strength to plant. Right? Which part of xylem, which cell of xylem gives mechanical strength, children? Sclerenchyma, right? Xylem fiber. Okay, that gives xylem sclerenchyma or xylem fibers. They are the same. So xylem fibers gives mechanical strength to plant. Here phloem does not give mechanical strength to plant. Okay, then conduction of water by xylem is unidirectional. That means from root it is going to the parts of plants, upper parts of plants. So it is going to upward direction. So that is why it is unidirectional. Here in phloem, food material conduction is bidirectional, right? How it is bidirectional? If I draw a plant here, right? Now let me draw a small plant here. It's a tree, but okay, okay, fine. If I see, uh, let me draw a small plant here. right? If it is a small plant, right, the upper part of the plants where the new leaves are coming, there are still new buds and new leaves are coming here. Okay, even that require food. So food is, suppose these are the green leaves, the food has to go down. I'll show differently. Food has to go down. Okay, food has to uh, have translocated downward direction, transported to the downward direction as well as in the upper direction, right? Where the buds are still very small and leaves are still very small to make their own food, right? So this is how in phloem we see the transfer of food, the conduction of material is bidirectional. Okay, okay, let me just clean this. Fine. Okay. Now xylem is star shaped and phloem is not in star shaped. Then xylem occupies, yeah, the center of the vascular bundle. Phloem occurs on the outer side of the vascular bundle. Now let me show you it. If this is a cell, you will find, if this is a plant, sorry, you will find the xylem over here, star shaped, right? Xylem over here. Xylem is right in the middle of this trunk, right? And phloem is, you will find the phloem bundle, phloem vascular bundle on the outer part of plants. Okay, phloem you will find on the outer parts of the plant. Okay, so this is what they want to tell you. This is what is explained in this point. Xylem occupies the center of the vascular bundle and phloem occurs on the outer side of vascular bundle. Then tubular with hard wall cells and tubular with soft wall cells. Why they are hard wall cells? They have a hard wall cells because of the presence of sclerenchyma or the xylem fiber, xylem sclerenchyma or xylem fiber. Clear, students? So this is all about xylem and phloem, the differences, and I'll just give you a brief introduction of animal cells today, but we are going to continue in our coming up sessions about the animal cell, animal tissues. Now epithelial, they are basically divided into epithelial tissues, muscular tissues, connective tissues and nerve cells or nervous tissues, right? So epithelial tissues are further divided into squamous epithelial, cuboidal, columnar epithelial, ciliated epithelial and glandular epithelial. So in the next session we are going to deal with the epithelial tissues and different types of epithelial tissue. Under the muscular tissue we will be studying striated muscles, smooth muscles and cardiac muscles, right? And then connective tissues, under the connective tissues we have to study fluid, skeleton and proper. Fluid connective tissue are of two types, blood and lymph. These are the two fluid part in our body. Okay. Skeletal further divided into bone and cartilage, and proper connective tissue further divided into areolar, adipose, ligaments and tendon, right? And then nerve cells or nerve tissue we are going to study. Okay, nerve cells, diagram of nerve cell, we are going to study about diagram of nerve cells. So this is all about today's session, students. I have discussed everything, almost the differences between xylem, phloem and meristematic tissue and permanent tissues, right? So please note down the differences and the diagrams of the different types of xylem and phloem tissues. Thank you, student. Practice today's topic.